I'm sure everyone remembers the day they lost their first tooth. It is a childhood milestone. It marks your first visit from the tooth fairy, your forever changed smile, and, of course, weird bragging rights. But I'm sure we don't even remember the first kid to lose their tooth. I don't know about the rest of you, but that kid was me. And while I was met with expressions like, cool, or when am I gonna lose mine? I was also met with confusion. Some of my peers hadn't the faintest clue what this meant and were, quite frankly, scared. But as time went on, more teeth started to fall out and more funny-looking smiles walked in, it became normal. No one thought twice about it anymore like they did when I was the first. When you were 4 or 5 or 6, you don't think about what this baby tooth might mean. As your adult teeth start to grow in, kids start to get the "you need braces" talk. Before you know it, every school yearbook photo is even more of a nightmare, and looking back at the photos of yourself makes you cringe. Those gleaming metal brackets, a sign of a corrective measure that had to be taken to stop an insecurity, a bad smile, from taking shape. What I just described is the butterfly effect of losing your tooth. One fun little event as a tot snowballs into the inability to look at yourself without laughing awkwardly and burying those photos deep in the basement. But at least 100 other kids at your school got braces too. At least at high school reunions, you can show up and shock the world with your new and improved smile. At least losing your tooth on that fateful day also happened to everyone else, right? My name is Reagan Warren. I am a sophomore here at Deerfield Academy. And while yes, I did lose my first tooth in pre-K, I also lost the ability to walk. These photos were taken of me in January of 2014 on a family vacation. I was running at the beach, jumping and laughing with my dad. A month later, I could barely get out of bed. These photos were taken in July of that same year, when the solution to my inability to walk was surgery. Every other kid in my class maintained their mobility. This wasn't just some hallmark of your youth that you can cackle over 12 years later. I had no explanation and no indication that this would be the path my life would go down. Ironically, I have a condition appropriately titled Charcot-Marie tooth. It is a hereditary motor and sensory neuropathy, which are really fancy words to describe the fact that my nervous system doesn't work properly, and that can obviously cause some major issues. My hands and feet are severely deformed, and I developed hip dysplasia and neuromuscular scoliosis as a result. My first sign of any issue was the aforementioned surgery on my hip, but back then I was just a naive 5-year-old. These were the days when magic medicine was the word for anesthesia, and Dad promised to watch Star Wars with me when I woke up from my nap. In reality, I had been having developmental delays since the moment I was born. My parents kept that information from me, and I don't blame them, because in a perfect world, no parent should have to tell their child that they will be facing a debilitating, progressive, and incurable disease until the day they die. When I was 7 years old, my parents made the incredibly brave decision of sitting me down and telling me what CMT was and what it meant for me going forward. My father, Phil, also had CMT, and my mom brought up the initiative to divert from his upbringing and have an open conversation with me about my condition in hopes I felt eager to communicate with them when it inevitably became a bigger problem. To this day, I firmly believe that this was the best parenting choice my parents could have made for me. And I want to commend my father, who since that day continuously pushed past his desire to shield his struggles in order to ensure I never felt alone, even in his unfortunate absence. As the cause of my vast medical history was finally revealed to me, my parents explained to me the basics of living with CMT. They made sure to find the most optimal parking spots if we ever went to a restaurant. We bought 88 tickets to any event we went to, and if I came home wiped out from a tough day of physical therapy, I was met with ice cream and a smile. My parents showed me how to be successful so I could thrive in an inaccessible world. Instead of sitting on the sidelines of a game of tag, I started bringing a coloring book to the park to pass the time. Instead of writing long stories in my notebook until my hand stopped working, my school provided me with an iPad and stylus. I bought all sorts of gizmos to help me button my shirts or open soda cans with ease. I even found inspiration in the stories I could relate to. I watched all of the Winter the Dolphin movies because she needed prosthetics as I needed my leg braces. My understanding of my challenges developed my abilities to adapt and advocate for myself. I knew what I needed and I could plan ahead. I have most of my doctors on speed dial and I never go anywhere without a lidocaine patch and a bottle of Advil. As I grew older, continued to have surgeries, and grew even more different from the likes of my peers, I felt solace in my understanding of my disability and was proud of my immense perseverance on a daily basis. Let me offer you another story. And yes, this is another tale of losing teeth. Envision, like always, you are sitting in class having a delicious midday snack when suddenly your tooth pops out. Except, unlike the real world, no one warned you. And all of your classmates stare in disgust. You walk back that day, tooth in hand, to ask your parents why you had this new gap in your teeth, but instead, you were met with apprehension. "Put that away, we shouldn't be talking about this," they might say. As the years go by and your teeth continue to fall and grow back in, bullies find any way to taunt you. Naive children are afraid to touch you, and nobody, literally nobody, is extending any sort of empathy towards you. As you grow up, your lack of awareness conditions you to believe that this is just who you are and you're gonna have to live like this. One day, you come home to your family and are sitting at a table talking about your career or your love life or whatever adults talk about, when suddenly a voice chimes out. "We never wanted to tell you, but I guess we can't hide it anymore. You have this strange little thing where all your teeth fall out and grow back in. Anyway, who wants pie?" This scenario is unfortunately a very real situation. It is the butterfly effect of not telling your child about their disability. How one secret can become the catalyst to a world of suffering and a developing insecurity in yourself and the life you lead. Clearly, it is wildly damaging. I'm going to show you 3 different images. This is a baby photo of me at roughly the age that I was diagnosed with CMT. This is a photo of me when I was 5 years old in the midst of rehabilitation from my first surgery. I was completely unaware of what was going on. And this is a picture of me about a year and a half after my parents told me my diagnosis. I ended up, just a year and a half later, speaking on a pediatric panel in front of the FDA, advocating for research and funding for a cure. When I first decided I wanted to do a TED Talk about my disability and my upbringing, I had planned to talk about what my childhood was like, in hopes that others continued to fight for accessibility and independence. But I was alarmed when my own mother warned me. She said, "You know, Reagan, not every parent is going to agree with how we raised you. It might have been the right choice, but it certainly wasn't the popular choice." I was convinced my head had exploded, or that I'd misheard her. I truly couldn't fathom the idea that people thought it was fair to withhold a part of someone's identity from them, and that this was considered by many to be a way to shield them or allow them to go through life without an excuse. It confused me and hurt me to know that there were people in the world who believed that I reserved no right to know my own medical history, and who thought it was a shameful thing to be born the way I was. I offer those people this. The only time I ever saw my dad come close to tears was when he said these words. The thing about CMT that differentiates it from any other disability is that it's hereditary, and I gave it to my daughter. There's nothing I can do to take that away. I don't care what happens to me, it's about my daughter. I keep those words with me because this omission was a time where I heard my father describe to myself and to others that this was our reality. If I had been kept in the dark about what my father was going through, and ultimately what I would have to go through, I would have been in for a rude awakening. I thought of the many nights prior to having learned about CMT where I was a wreck. I was inconsolable and wishing I could be anyone else. I was a scared 6-year-old sobbing violently and screaming about how she hated herself and felt like the loneliest person in the world, how she felt broken and alienated, and how something was so wrong with her and she didn't know why. I couldn't explain why I felt the way I did, and I could barely put into words the pain that came with being the outlier. Even though I didn't know I had CMT, it was already affecting every part of my life. It is the painful memory of that feeling that makes it impossible to imagine that parents could raise their children into adolescence and adulthood thinking that they are protected and that as long as they don't know, it won't affect them as badly. Here is what I've managed to do since being told my diagnosis. I was encouraged to become an active part of any community I found myself in. I am a board member of the Deerfield Disabilities Alliance. I have spoken at medical conferences, raised funds in new and creative ways, and as you can tell from this talk, I'm a frequent communicator about my hardships. The support of my parents also played a crucial role. My mom serves on the board of directors for the Hereditary Neuropathy Foundation. My dad was a dedicated donor and champion in finding me the greatest doctors, greatest education, and greatest resources to allow me to flourish regardless of my disability. As much as my story is a great example of the positive impacts of this open communication, I am also lucky. Many children out there are the sole disabled person in their family. Whether by chance, by genetics, or other factors, there are kids who did not have the same easy explanation as I did. Parents, I need you to listen to me when I say, do everything in your power to tell your kids who they really are. In the moments when I didn't know the full picture, I felt like a burden. No child should ever have to feel like they are impeding on someone else's life by living theirs. Don't ever be a bystander in your child's life. It is not enough to tell them they have a disability. You must explain to them your disability. If that is what you think I'm asking, to tell them and send them on their way, you are sorely mistaken. We look up to you, we trust you, we love and respect you. This is a bond that, once broken, is borderline impossible to mend. Be open, be honest, be active, and living like we do will get a whole lot better. By no means, and I mean this for every disability out there, don't hide dyslexia from your kids. Don't hide epilepsy from your kids. Don't hide ADHD or asthma or cerebral palsy or OCD from your kids. I don't want to hear trivial excuses like being disabled is obvious or they'll figure it out themselves. Because no, it's not obvious. And no, we won't figure it out. Because before you know it, your child will be 25 years old and relying on Dr. Google, who, as we all know, won't tell you anything of value. Give kids what they need so that one day they can stand on a stage like me and tell the world that they were supported with a caring environment that nurtured a strong sense of self. By no means am I advising parents that by telling your child they have a disability, their life will suddenly turn a new corner and they will be singing "We Are the World" hand in hand, because it won't be. Knowing you have a disability will never change the fact that you have a disability. You will face bullying, harassment, discrimination, and blatant ableism wherever you go. People will still say they are ashamed or embarrassed to be around you, whether to your face or to your friends. Elevators will still be broken. Extra time on tests may never be enough. Medicines might be expensive, and doctors may never know what to do with you. None of that is going to go away. There is a reality we have to face when it comes to growing up. Caregivers, I'm asking you, when your loved one is faced with whatever challenge that comes with being disabled, would you rather they sit in silence and shame for not knowing what is wrong with them? Or would you rather they move forward with their head held high, knowing there is so much more to their capacities than their limitations? Thank you.